I'm feeling low. Hey everybody, hope you're well. And again, it's been a fantastic week for Cree. We have Dwight with us again to give us an update. One thing that he promised last time was that he would come on a regular basis and give us these updates, and it's absolutely brilliant to have him on the channel. It is Sunday afternoon, so I've got to say a big thank you to Dwight for coming on and spending your Sunday afternoon with ourselves to give us all an update. How have you been, and what's your first week been as owner of Cree?
Well, it's been busy to say the least. A lot of hours. Getting up at actually getting on the computer, not up, but on the computer at 7 a.m. and winding down around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So long days to say the least. But it's been an outstanding week. Super fun. A lot of successes. I mean, as the community in Telegram has seen, there's a lot of progress that we've made.
And some of the good feedback I've actually had is that you're actually in the Telegram all the time, answering questions, and you've been there, because sometimes people don't get access to sort of maybe like the CEO of a company like this, and it's been fantastic to see the feedback come back and how open you've been with absolutely everything.
Yeah, that's always been real important to me. I mean, there's nowhere better to get the feeling as to what's working and what's not working than to actually talk to the people that are there. I mean, I can hear it from employees, but it's always filtered by what they feel. They'll see more of me out there as I get more time. Hopefully, after we get some of this stuff done, they'll see a lot more of me out there.
Awesome. So we had quite a few questions come in. I've sort of split them down into sort of several categories. So we'll just work through them as we go through. So the first one, and it's probably one of the big pieces of news, you're actually on CoinMarketCap now, which is brilliant. What took so long to sort of get onto CoinMarketCap? Because that's quite important to some of the community.
Yeah, so getting on CoinMarketCap requires two exchanges that have an API access that they can connect to, and then obviously the programming they got to do on the backside to make that connection happen. Us having brought CryptoBridge into the exchange space for the Cree token was the second one. So that actually opened the door up at that point for us to get listed on market cap. There is another step that we can do with CoinMarketCap once we are listed on 3. So kind of the goal would be to get to 3 shortly. And they'll actually see some additional data and stuff like that happens in the CoinMarketCap space.
Okay, and as you've just mentioned exchanges, are we close to potentially a third exchange?
Yeah, the good news is CoinMarketCap is a great place to get a lot of work. So since the CoinMarketCap listing, I have been inundated with all types of advertising offers, interviews, exchange listings and that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of working through it. I want to make sure that we're not doing this willy-nilly. The main thing is, we're setting the foundation for the company. And I know it's almost 2 years old, the business, but we don't want to be on sand. We want to be on stone. So what we're doing is we're very methodical, I guess is probably the best way to put it, as to who we're selecting for that exchange position. There are some exchanges, Bittrex is one I'm passionate about getting on. I actually know the CEO over there, but there's some hurdles we need to get through before we get that listing. So that's not going to be one that's right around the corner. For U.S. Purchasers, it's going to require the securities token. So that's 3 months away, and then it'll take a month or so after that, if that's the path we go. There are some exchanges that are up in the top, 30-ish that have reached out saying, "Hey, interesting project." They've actually watched your video, James. That's my best business card I got is your interview with me, and actually gotten excited enough about it to lower their price, which is important to me, obviously. So
Indeed, yeah.
we're beating them up on the price to get it down to actually list with them. But again, wanting to make sure that those exchanges fit what we're trying to do. So if you look at the volume and the number of users per exchange, what I'm wanting to do is just continue to ratchet it up. So we'll slowly take the stairway to heaven and get our way all the way up to Binance, hopefully, in a listing out there. But it's kind of important. I know. I think one of our questions a little bit farther down is trading volumes and stuff like that. But it's important that as we look at adding exchanges, that we're also looking at our volumes. Obviously, exchanges want volumes. That's how they make money. But if we start to have 10 exchanges, then we've taken our order books and spread them across 10 exchanges, where if it was all on one, it'd look really good and you'd get a lot more trading going on. Having it spread across too many too early is actually a negative thing for us. To be honest with you, Crypto Bridge, we need more buyers and sellers in there. So I'll take this time to answer the other question that's down on your list.
Yeah, because it was literally about the Crypto Bridge volume. Yeah.
So just to explain to the investors out there and the people that are out there a little bit of how the trading markets work. So there's a thing called books, and you have a sell book and you have a buy book. And on the buy book, you always want it to be bigger than your sell book. If it is bigger, then what happens is the price goes up. There's actually a graph on the I think it's LA Tokens got the graph that shows the pressures of buy and sell. And right now you'll see red is sell and it's like super high, and the buy is green and it's super low. So what we're trying to do is even those out. And when you even those out, it's when the actual market kind of takes off. But you have to have enough volume and you have to have enough assets out there. So the good news is we've seen the assets listed in the LA Token wallet about 4x where it had been two and a half weeks ago, which is good because that means more people are actually bringing their assets into the market. Now, whether they placed a sell order or a buy order doesn't matter. They're at least over there to be in that marketplace. So fundamentally, what we're trying to get done over a short period of time is to fatten those books on Crypto Bridge and over at LA Token. One thing that's very evident is we still are very buy-centric focused in the Australian market, because you'll see virtually all the buys and sells happening when they're awake and very few happen when the rest of us are awake. So we're trying to globalize this thing and get it around the country or around the world a little bit more. So as that happens, it's going to make adding a third exchange a little more important to us and something that we need to do. If one of the exchanges looks just weak, then we'll just go ahead and replace it. If one of the proposed exchanges come to me with an offer I can't refuse, then we'll go ahead and do that and probably close one of the current two down, just so that we don't thin the books out. So that's kind of, if you can kind of understand how that works.
So you're sort of like maintaining that volume and building rather than dilute what you already have.
Right. It doesn't happen by magic. I mean, I think a lot of people, they look at the regular markets like NASDAQ or Wall Street and they're saying, wow, there's all kinds of trading. I place a buy, it happens. I place a sell. It's all magical. Well, there is nothing magical about it. It's all engineered. So, it's a matter of engineering and putting in the focus in the right places to get it to create a market, which is what Cree needs.
And that's definitely happened over the last week or so, because I think we've seen a high of 7.5 cents, was it?
Yeah. So a high of 7.5 cents, which was outstanding. I mean,
from, I think it was a third of a cent, because that's what I was buying at some time ago, like chipping away each month and stuff. And that is
so,
a monster
we can say, for one of the accomplishments for this week, we can say that we've pretty solidly 5x'd the price of the coin. I mean, that's outstanding. I mean, shoot, I've barely gotten my hands on the motorcycle at this point. That's pretty good. So
and if you compare it against sort of if you were in the standard stock market buying a Coca-Cola share and all the rest of it, if you made 10% a year, you'd be you're in the top 10% of like traders. Yeah,
Right, right.
today we've just in the last week it's
Well, and
5x.
what's even more impressive about that is at the 5x mark, which is kind of what I'm looking at. I've kind of averaged it out for the week. At the 5x mark, we built our book. So
Mm.
it's 5x of real money. It's not 5x of, hey, I'm in, I'm out. It's not like bot trading and, some speculators or arbitrage people. So, if you are an arbitrager, I'll go ahead and make a public announcement here. Please stay away from the Cree coin.
They're out there
Only
though.
the fact right now is that there are huge arbitrage opportunities between the two exchanges. But the problem is, what happens if you are passionate about Krios as a business, then I'd just ask you to hold off on that greed factor at this point, because the company and the books need the money more so, well, maybe more so than the people that are making those trades. So we had a buyer come in, about 36 hours ago and picked up 1 million shares of Cree. I know this individual only after digging through to find out what he was doing, and he's a holder. So again, it's all that part of taking Cree into holding status to help us raise that price up.
Yeah,
So
I know a lot of the community myself. I know we're all big buyers from the ICO and continued,
right,
and we're all holding very
I
much so
appreciate that.
long
Yeah,
term because we do believe in the project. So it's
yeah,
great to see.
yeah.
One of the other things it's caused a bit of not controversy, but there's some opinion, shall we say, change of logo. You've gone from
Yeah.
a red to a blue. Just can you just explain what the changes are?
Yeah, so obviously with the new ownership of the business, we wanted to give it a new look and feel. I think we've gotten a pretty positive response from the new logo. We had a little bit of a hiccup. I think we fixed, and everybody should like the new logo. The the design is made to make it look like it's moving forward. So I mean, even late last night, we were talking in the admin group, and the gal that created the logo did a great job. But we were discussing whether the dark should be on the top or on the bottom, and kind of getting everybody's psychological feel of does it make it look like it's moving forward. So it's kind of interesting. If you flip that V around and make the dark on the bottom, it looks like it's pointing to the left, in my opinion, where if it's on the top, it's pointing to the right, moving forward, taking the company on. There's also, I love the logo because there's all kinds of cool optical illusions in there. So, I mean, like if you look at the center of it, you'll actually see a hollow box that you could stick stuff in.
Ah, okay.
I mean, it's a cool logo. She did a great job on it. It's I think it represents where we're trying to take the company, and it's very tech looking, which is really what we're all about. If anybody knows anything about me, they know I am a tech person. I am a certified propeller head. So,
It even comes up when you do the Skype thing. It says technology geek as
yeah,
well.
that's actually one of my companies.
Oh,
Technology is the consulting company that I do public speaking
okay.
stuff. But yeah, my wife bought that domain from me years ago.
Oh, classic. That's awesome. Um, Another thing that we talked about last time was actually some of the things that you do in your other business, and it was obviously you go out, you have your software. They can do, if they're off shopping at a competitor's dealership, then it will obviously come back. So one of the questions is that there's roughly around 36,700 main suppliers and then about 20,000 indies. Obviously, you gave us a number of 1,000. How realistic is that in terms of the size of the market, and how have you progressed so far with that?
Yeah, I think I think we're going to surprise people with that. I mean, that sounds like we're wanting 1/32 of the market. Interestingly enough, in the auto tech industries, most of the dealers will have 3 or 4 different ad tech partners. There are things that we do and things that we don't do. Like we don't mess with Google search at all. That's something we'll probably add to the digital track eventually, but right now we're focused more on that geofencing product. So I spent 2 days this week, literally myself driving around to car dealers and talking to them and finding out what was interesting to them. In one of those conversations, it looks like we picked up a single car dealership with 50 locations. around the whole nation. I mean, taking us all the way into Washington State and California and everywhere. So I don't think 1,000 is going to be too hard. It's being received probably better than even the Krios acquisitions being received, if you can imagine that.
All right. Okay.
Anybody that's ever done door-to-door sales, which is basically what I've been out doing on those 2 days, is they understand that no is a big word that they hear probably more often than not. I'm hearing no maybe 1 out of every 2 times. So, a 50% success rate is pretty huge. Now I got to get their checks.
Yeah.
So that's what, they're all interested in, hey, send me the pricing. I want the contract, all that other kind of stuff. But, let me see the check and then we're good.
Now that sounds like real positive progress. Another question came in about the Krios platform. What's going to happen to that platform, and when would the community expect that to maybe potentially go live?
Yeah, so we are looking at there's some re-engineering that needs to be done. So just full transparency, it's the first week we've had asset control. We don't have 100% asset control. We're still rolling some of that stuff over to our side. Tomorrow I'll be spending some time with the current developer team to go over some of their problems that they may have had, some of the visions that I have for the application, give them 48 hours to come back with some answers to some of the pretty substantial questions that I have for them. And then also give my guys. So I have a team of programmers that work for me pretty much full time. And I'm going to let my guys kind of look at that as well. They're kind of 1%ers. If anybody's familiar with what that term is, they're basically the cream of the crop. I mean, these are like $250,000 a year salary type guys, and let them take a look at it. My goal would be to see at least an actual public release of the web-based application within 30 days. That's what I'm shooting for. Don't hold me to it, but if all my answers come back the way I want them to come back and the people get on it, that would be what we're shooting for, is about a 30-day launch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
they're going at Dwight pace.
Yeah. Yeah. Where there's some interface changes we need to make. We need to add additional monetary units. The Cree coin, as much as I love it, obviously doesn't make sense for somebody that's going to produce a video for somebody to take Cree coin, because we don't have a liquid market yet. We got to get that market going so that can become one. It will remain a coin that could be used as the financial transference between the buyer and the seller. But more importantly, we're going to add some of the heavies to it. We'll add Bitcoin and Ethereum to that as well.
Okay.
So that will hopefully, we got to get once we launch it, we got to get the creative people on there. We got to get the guys that are making the press releases or doing the videos or making banner ads or whatever on the platform, so that the sellers can actually go somewhere and buy it.
Okay. So the other question was, what is your impression of the community after your first week?
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's actually better than I kind of expected. People look kind of at my resume. One of the companies that I had was a company called WebUseNet. And if anybody's old enough to have used the Usenet system back in the day, it was there was no way around getting your butt kicked every day. I mean, everybody was just horrible, nasty people, and they're saying stuff, thinking, they'd talk as if they were a 10-foot giant with 700 pounds of muscle on them, calling you everything, kind of expected to walk into that a little bit more with this project. I think it's been received very well. I appreciate the responses that I've gotten from a lot of the people in the community. I think that I feel the support, which is important. It's good to have that support. So I think there's, like I say, if you don't like it, get out of it. Like James said, there was a good 12-hour window where we were hitting 7.5 cents. That's more than most people paid for the stock. It's certainly, a lot of people got, free Cree from the contests and all this other kind of stuff. If you're going to complain about it, just sell it. I mean, that's do the right thing. Yeah.
I think a lot of those early sellers have gone now, because the book seems very stable. And I think one thing that I've seen, especially into comments and stuff, is that transparency, the openness, the fact that you're in the Telegram. I think that makes like the perfect combination in terms of that open transparency. People can see what's happening, and then it gives people that confidence, I think.
Yeah, and that's important. I mean, I invest in a lot of other businesses myself, and that's important to me. I mean, you want to have a voice. If something, you want to know what the plan is, you want to know how it's going to work, and if it's working. And I'll be very frank with people. Whether if we start stumbling, people will know. So.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. It's
speaking of that, another. We'll call it a weekly goal, not a goal because I couldn't have even imagined it happening, but the post that we did on the Facebook channel, on the Facebook page, that was a link to your announcement, as of now has reached, we've gotten over 18,000 likes.
Wow.
On that post. 18,000 likes. We got 5,000 people in the group. So that's ridiculous. That's obviously a very good thing.
Yeah, the reach is getting out there. People are starting to get to know. It won't be long, and they'll all be here.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the other questions, this has got its own complete category of questions because it came up quite a lot, was all around the sort of the dividends. Some of the questions that came out were about, will people need a separate wallet? Will if they've got them in the exchange and they've got their own MyEther wallet, where will the dividends be paid? And there was a lot of questions around that.
Right. So, and certainly in the Telegram group, that's probably the number one issue of, especially people that are joining the Telegram group that might have heard that there's actually, life back into the Cree project and that they might be holding some. If you have an ERC20 wallet that you have control of, a Mu wallet or CryptoBridge, you actually can control as well, you will receive the Ethereum to that address. If you do not, there will be a method where we will design and have the application that you log into and stuff, and we'll be able to verify your balance of Cree to another Ethereum address. So we can make that payment outside of that actual address. So we're engineering that solution to that problem right now. I mean, ideally, we're sending it directly to that Cree address. Quite honestly, I think the wisdom would be not that you want to pull everything out of the markets, but if you have the bulk of yours in like a Mu wallet or something like that, that's going to be the most secure for yourself as well, as far as receiving those dividends. But we'll come out with probably a white paper as well as a link as to where you actually control your account. That'll be like super secure, military type secure, where you can say, hey, this is my Ethereum, this is my Cree, and then when the ex-dividend date hits, we'll look at that Cree balance and pay it out to the Ethereum.
Okay, I think I think that gives people a lot of confidence in terms of because it's such a great thing, and now they just want the detail and the meat on the bones, if you will.
That's a good thing about ERC20 is we can we don't know who owns that wallet, but we can track it. I mean, it's an open ledger. I mean, that's the good news. That's the easy part. So
that's all right. So some of the other things was that we talked around last time that you talked about potentially that Cree could get over $1, and that was through what we called the DDM calculations and obviously paying the dividends. I think again there was quite a lot of questions in the group around that. Would you be able to elaborate on that whole DDM process a little bit more?
Yeah, so I think in the pinned comment on the Telegram group, there's actually a link to the wiki for DDM, and it's mind-numbing for anybody that hasn't been in calculus for 30 years or 3 years probably to understand all the math behind it. But it is the standard that's used for all stocks and real trading stocks, and it's usually considered the Warren Buffett method. So what it is the company produces a profit, and the company's board of directors decides on what percentage of that profit it's giving to its shareholders. And usually that's done on an annual basis. I think I mentioned in the last one, we may try to do that quarterly just because we want to see traction in the Cree coin a little sooner than that. But what happens is let's just say the company made $1 million, and the board of directors says, okay, well, we're gonna give 30% of that profits out to the shareholders. 30% of that's $300,000 that gets distributed against the coins. So that's kind of what the DDM method is. How you get to that dollar is there are calculators out there that you can go to. You can type DDM stock calculator, and you enter in the starting price of half a cent, which is where I took the company over at, and add 25 so I'm using 2.5 cents because that's what I'm tracking for. I am trying to get us a 2.5 cent quarterly dividend. Don't count me on that. It could be anywhere from a half a cent to 10 cents, but it's going to be something certainly significant, a significant percentage of the current valuation of the coin. But at 2.5 cents, if you put that in there and assume that the company grows at a 12% annual rate, which quite honestly, I think will grow way past that because it's pretty much a new company. So we should be seeing kind of like the Cree coin, 5 times X type profits. But if you assume a 12%, which is pretty normal for this type of a business, the calculator comes back with $1.52. So
because I had a little go at it as well, and I did it, and I come back with pretty much similar calculations.
Yeah.
So it's
So what that means, it doesn't mean the stock is all of a sudden $1.52, but what it means to traditional and institutional investors is that that's what they're going to value that stock at. So if they see it trading at 50 cents, hey, if the DDM comes in at $1.52, that's a damn good buy. You're going to see a lot more buyers come in. Buyers equal more price. So,
well, I was looking at obviously I work at Mondelez for probably the American people. It's Kraft Foods in the UK. It's Cadbury's. They just call it different names and rent the brands out, so they have to pay tax and all this type of thing. Right. That's probably another video. And basically, they're trading at $52, and over the year they pay $1 out in terms of the dividends. Yeah. Now you go, okay, well, if we applied that theoretical element to the Cree token based on, I only did it on 2 cents, you get yourself back up to like nearly $4. Based on what a traditional investor would go to the big companies like Warren Buffett and those guys go, well, that's it's a good turnover on that investment and stuff. So
that's exactly right. So I'm not going to say $4 because I'm going to tell you $1 and hopefully.
No, but it's just like when you start comparing, where the market is now, what is traditionally. If you give it like 3 or 4 years, they're going to be on par with everything that's happening in the market. Absolutely. Maybe not tomorrow and the next day, but definitely further down the line.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way, and your channel's a great way of doing this. What we're doing is really unique to this ICO industry. So I've not been able to find, and maybe the viewers can find somebody that they can point me to, an ICO that's actually done a virtual reverse merger. So what we're doing is we've taken a penny stock, is what we do in the U.S. is you take a penny stock company that's trading a dime or something like that. You put a real company behind it, and you get that listing up over $1, and NASDAQ picks you up. And that's kind of what we're doing with this thing. I've not seen an ICO out there that's kind of picking this model up, and I'd really like us to be kind of the bleeding edge and first guys out there that first off are successful at doing, but kind of blaze the trail for some of these other failed ICO projects and the holders of those coins to make their money back.
I haven't seen anything like this, and I'm reading and looking at everything.
Yeah.
So it's so exciting.
I think when people understand just how unique that is, they're gonna hold on for the ride. And when they understand that, my goal as the CEO of the company is truly, my job, if anybody understands what a CEO's job is, it's to make money for the shareholders. Everybody complains about big corporations and CEOs and what they're doing and stuff. That's their job. It's that's their legal description of their job, is to create wealth for the shareholders. That's what we're trying to do here.
And just on a sort of a time scale, this was the next piece is, one, how long will it take to get to a security token, and then based on the back of that, how long will it take before, say, the first dividend would be paid out?
Realistically, I'm going to have to say probably in the range of 6 months. So it's going to take us probably 3 months to get the securities token. And then, obviously we've got to have the profits to be able to make the dividend and all that other stuff useful. So realistically at this point, I'd probably say 6 months. We might be able to do it in 4 or 5, but we get the first thing before we can even make a dividend is get that security token converted, which we're working. I don't think my lawyers work quite as fast as Dwight's speed. They never have. But they charge.
You got to feed them more money, haven't you? That's the thing.
Yeah, they charge like they do. I wish I got their paycheck. But yeah, that's the very first thing we got to get done. And it's just a lot of paperwork. So.
Yeah, I bet. Well, if we do the calculations quickly, that's sort of like Christmas time potentially.
Yeah.
So that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Like I think that'd be Yeah, that'd be great. The next sort of questions were all around sort of more about the sort of the vision going forward. So obviously you've elaborated on quite a lot of stuff, but what are your key focuses sort of next 3 months, 6 months?
Right. So over the next 30 days, we'll start with that. The next 30 days is to basically make good on all the promises that have been made by the company. So anybody that was part of like the Android beta program, I want them to be paid. I'd like that to happen this week. Quite honestly, I don't know if we can get the data out right, but that's what we're trying to do. I need to wrangle in the Cree application. So within the next 30 days, outside 60 days, that's actually a living and breathing business. That we're actually being able to create revenue from so that business can create dividends. We got to get, you can't put the cart before the horse. You can't have a dividend without a revenue. Fortunately, the digital track has a revenue stream that's gonna help push that dividend out. But we need to get Krios as an application out and get the word out on that. And there's going to be bugs and problems and all that stuff when you launch something, but I've done this a bunch of times, so I'm ready for the challenge. And fortunately I got good developers on my team that can answer a lot of those. The growth of digital track, obviously, trying to get towards that 1,000 dealers is important. We will specific to the coin itself. One of the other things that we accomplished this week is we were able to get the codes over to the Mu people so that in the next revision of Mu, when somebody types Cree, instead of having to go to a custom code and try to figure out what the contract address and all that stuff is, Cree will show up as an actual token out there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I would like to... I was talking about stair-stepping the exchanges over the next 6 months. I'd probably like to at least get 2 steps up. I think you're going to see us probably announce shortly a third exchange that's going to be a mid-tier kind of exchange, and then within 6 months, hopefully we'll have 2 top-tier exchanges. So people understand. We will probably try to keep no more than 3 exchanges live at any time based on trying to keep the volumes up. I mean, we'll never have, it's dumb to make statements that are dumb. We will never have the volume that Ethereum has or that Bitcoin has. I mean, anybody that thinks we will, go to, sell your coins, please. Because that's a promise I can't keep. Yeah. But we have to get that volume up so that we're like an XRP or something like that. Something that has enough volume that coin can be used across 5 or 6 exchanges. So again, part of that battle plan basically of exchanges over the next 6 months is going to be to continually stepping up to exchanges that have more and more users on them, and unfortunately jettison the ones that don't. So,
well, it just sounds like all the things that you're doing is just adding more and more value to the coin, and therefore, over time, we will see that. I think it's just patience.
Yeah, it's been a week, and look what we've done.
I know.
I mean, now, hey, don't expect this kind of a sprint every week. I can't do that. I'm 56 years old. I'm starting to forget what my wife's name is. I've been working so hard. So, but I think that, like you just said, everything we're doing, it's building blocks, to me, it's important to make sure that the foundation is very strong. There are other opportunities I'm not going to disclose a whole lot about, but there are other opportunities that we're working on that only further increase the revenue stream to the Cree coin. There's some potential acquisitions of some other companies that we would actually wrap up under this deal. So again, trying to increase that value, but we got to get that foundation good and solid. Build your house on a rock. Just like in the Bible. Not on sand, build it on a rock.
No. I mean, it's great to not only this, but also to get these weekly updates, because I think this is really important to everybody to really just see the transparency and also the challenges that you have, because everybody thinks that they buy the coin and then they go, right, get on with it. You've been around for a while and in the crypto, and people do expect, but then it's also nice to hear that there are challenges. It does set things back, that you do work on it. It's transparent, and I think it just brings everybody together.
Well, some of the wisdom that I'll impart to everybody watching your channel is that nothing easy or nothing good is easy. If it was easy, everybody'd do it. And that's kind of what happened in the ICO market. Was everybody? It's kind of like the .com days. You write, hey, I'm going to create Google on the back of a napkin, and you raise $1 billion. And the ICO market did that, and then they didn't make Google happen, although Google did. But you got to have people that are kind of brick and mortar kind of people that are used to working hard. And I mean, we got a great admin team that take care of the guys over in that Telegram group, because they work hard at that too. But it's it does take effort, and it's kind of like a piggy bank. You just keep putting that effort in, putting that effort in, putting that effort in. Eventually, you get so much effort in there, the piggy bank breaks apart because there's so much in there, and that's what we're shooting for. So.
That's awesome. And again, I know it's Sunday afternoon, and I do really appreciate your time, Dwight.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for coming on the channel again.
Thank you, and I appreciate you keeping our user base updated.
No worries. All right, you take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Bye.
Okay. Bye.